What up, cucks? It's your boy, the Hater, and I'm here with another vid up in this mug. You know what I'm saying? Today's video is pretty self-explanatory. The Hater's gonna lay out for everybody why this year's WrestleMania is going to go down as one of the worst, if not the worst, all right? There's a few primary reasons. Number one, in my personal opinion, the only way that this WrestleMania is anything but a colossal, abject failure of a disaster would be if Cena wins in the end. Because if that happens, at the very least, we have a moment where John Cena won his 17th world title. Now, that's going to be a tainted moment because he's doing it as a heel, but nevertheless, the moment will be preserved. However, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think the cuckster, once again, is going to pull, ironically, a John Cena and overcome the odds, just like he did last year, which is the main focus of this video. The parallels between the last three WrestleManias are absurd. Now, if you look at the WrestleManias without the result in mind, right, since we don't know this year's result, right, it doesn't matter, though, if we do know or don't know, right? The question for the last two WrestleManias has effectively been, will Cody Rhodes be champ, right? And the question now has shifted to, will Cody Rhodes remain champ? WrestleMania 39, Cody Rhodes could not overcome the odds. The bad guy won, and Cody got wrecked. Then the next WrestleMania, the opposite happened. Cody Rhodes did overcome the odds, and he won the title. Now, keep that in mind, because this WrestleMania, one of those two things is going to happen again. In other words, we're seeing the same thing that we've seen 100 times. Just like John Cena back in the day, when he would waste WrestleMania matches. I'm being completely honest, it'd be like him versus Triple H, he wins. Him versus Michaels, he wins. Him versus Big Show and Randy Orton. Randy Orton wins, but it doesn't matter, right? It's just different permutations of the same thing. In order to have variety and interesting moments, you need variety on both sides of the equation. Now, they're going to build this, well, they're not going to build it at all, actually, let's be honest, right? But they're going to try to build it so that it feels like a big deal. And then they're going to try to bill this as, you know, a dream match. Even though it's a match that we've seen before with John Cena simultaneously AAing Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow or whatever, right? I remember distinctly him just beating that ass, you know? So we're going to see that again. We're going to see effectively an out-of-prime Cena based on the presentation of Cena. I think he's still in his prime in terms of the fact that he can still do everything that he's supposed to do. But we're going to see an out-of-prime Cena wrestle an out-of-prime Cody Rhodes, right? They're two guys basically in their 40s, you know? This would be remember when Undertaker and Shawn Michaels wrestled the first time? They were both in their 40s. But the difference was, it was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, not Shawn Michaels and Cody Rhodes, right? Cody Rhodes is the B-side of this and every other equation where he's involved in a match. And as a result, WrestleMania is going to suffer. You can put this cocksucker in 10 consecutive WrestleMania main events, and he's still not going to feel like a big deal because his career has been too jeopardized for him to ever be a believable main eventer. That's the situation we find ourselves in, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, right? As I said a few minutes ago, the reality is that it doesn't matter if Cody Rhodes wins or loses because we've seen both outcomes, right? Cody Rhodes main eventing WrestleMania and losing, and Cody Rhodes main eventing WrestleMania and winning. So what is there to look forward to? Let's say the night after WrestleMania. Well, if Cody Rhodes wins, then nothing, right? It's just a continuation of last year. It's the same exact thing. If Cody Rhodes loses, then he's going to go away for a couple of months, probably do what everyone does nowadays. And we might, if we're lucky, see John Cena come and cut a promo. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt Cena wins. And then if he wins, I highly doubt that he's going to grace us with his presence, right? John Cena is not going to be WWE champion at this point. And in my opinion, they've ruined everything. Now, another thing that needs to be considered is the role of the great one, the final boss himself, The Rock, La Roca, ese, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, right, we now find ourselves, even with regards to The Rock, in the same position as last year, you know? If you remove the fact that The Rock and Roman Reigns are cousins, and you supplement cousin with business partner, effectively, with brother, because he's like, be my brother, Cody, it's the same exact storyline. Last year, The Rock and Roman wanted to stop Cody Rhodes from winning at WrestleMania. and they wanted to keep the title in the family. This year, Cena and The Rock want to stop Cody Rhodes from winning and keeping his title. This is the exact same thing as last year. It's exactly the same. At the very least, when John Cena wrestled Triple H was a heel, and Shawn Michaels was a face. And it was a different dynamic as a result of that. But in this particular context, it's the same exact thing. It's The Rock's heel versus Cody. The Rock's heel versus Cody again. Now, things could come out of this because now Roman Reigns is effectively a face, so maybe he can come and save the day. I don't know what's going to happen, right? But even the things that I'm thinking of are things that we saw last year. Now, if Roman Reigns comes and interferes on behalf of Cody, that's even worse because we've just switched the roles. Cena helped Cody, now Roman's going to help Cody. Wow, right? The same thing's going to happen again with the roles reversed. What incredible booking. The Rock's like assistant or whatever who wrote the storyline. What an incredible writer this moron is. Now, let's keep that in mind and compartmentalize it for a second. And let's move on to the problems with last year's WrestleMania and how that has, in my opinion, ruined this year's WrestleMania. So last year's WrestleMania was a culmination of factors and a culmination of forms of interference, right? Seth Rollins interfered, Cena interfered, The Undertaker interfered, and so did Roman Reigns' people. Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso took him out. You know, all that stuff happened. Now, Solo Sikoa, of course. Now, what's going to happen this year? Well, presumably, people like Jey and Jimmy Uso have no, horse in the race because their cousin isn't there, right? They're both faces. A lot of things have changed for them. But it doesn't matter because the real bad guy, even last year, but especially this year, is presented as being The Rock. The Rock is the one pulling the strings. He is arguably the main attraction of this WrestleMania, even though Cena is once again main eventing WrestleMania. The Rock is really the bad guy, right? Cena is like the final boss before the final boss, like the fake out final boss, where you beat Cena, you're like, game's over, and then the final boss reveals himself like in Final Fantasy IX, and you're like, oh shit, never saw that coming, except with The Rock, you're gonna see it coming. Now, with that being said, if we follow the same formula, the question then remains. The Undertaker came and attacked Roman Reigns, and obviously The Rock. Now, why wouldn't The Undertaker do this again this year? As a matter of fact, if The Undertaker doesn't do it this year, that's just called bad writing, because it's the same scenario. The Undertaker is helping Cody Rhodes overcome evil in the form of The Rock specifically, because he chokes down The Rock. So when The Rock interferes in a Cody match for the second year in a row, why wouldn't I expect the same thing to happen that happened last year? Unless they show Undertaker being beaten by like Travis Scott or something, I'm going to expect him to show up. And if he doesn't, that's just called weak booking. If he does, that's also called weak booking, because what is The Undertaker? Just a guy that shows up at WrestleMania to affect the outcome of the main event? That doesn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense last year, and it's not going to make any sense this year. Except, because it happened last year, if it doesn't happen this year, then it's like, wait a second. Oh, so I guess Undertaker's only available with WrestleManias that end with a number 0. He's not big enough for WrestleMania 41, or not good enough, or whatever the case is, right? That's the point. The point is, if you corner yourself into the same exact scenario as last year, I have no reason to expect anything but the same exact scenario. The outcome might be different, but who cares about the outcome? That's not part of WrestleMania. That's part of the results of WrestleMania and part of the backlash. But as we judge WrestleMania at this juncture, before our review on actual WrestleMania day, or days I should say, before our review, we have to judge what's happening, the build-up to it. And the build-up to it is identical to Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. It's identical. Now, I know some of you who think you're smarter than you are, which, you should realize you're not, because I know these types of people. They think they're smarter than they are, and they point to what are called, in the law and in logic, meaningless distinctions. Like, they'll be like, Roman Reigns has long hair, John Cena has a bald spot, it's different, see? You know what I mean? That kind of dumb shit. And I can sense these things happening already. Look at that. Roman Reigns was his cousin, John Cena isn't. Yeah, but who cares? The hero's journey is still the paradigm that we're going after here, right? It's the same exact thing. The question remains, will Cody Rhodes once again overcome the odds, or will evil triumph? Now, evil triumphing looks exactly the same this year and last, and arguably the year before that. It's just the bad guy who is supposed to be better than Cody Rhodes. Can Cody Rhodes beat the person that is his superior? Well, he's already done it before, so like, what am I watching here? You know, wouldn't it be more interesting to see someone else do this, or to see someone else fail, or even to see Cody fail to Cena? Of course, I think all of us can agree on one thing, that Cena winning would be more entertaining for most of us. You know, because Cena's still Cena, The Rock's still The Rock. The same logic that I applied last year, where I wanted Roman Reigns to win, I'm going to apply this year because it's the same story. I didn't want Cody to win last year, and I don't want him to win this year. Especially considering that he won last year, right? It's like, all right, the story's finished. What, there's a new story? As The Rock said, oh, new story. Oh, once the story ends, another one begins. Great. We can do this forever. And perhaps in WrestleMania 42, The Rock, takes Randy Orton and turns him heel, and it's Cody versus Randy Orton. We can do this forever. It's the same storyline, though. It's the same storyline. And I understand that in WrestleMania, there's going to be other storylines, allegedly, but thus far, we haven't seen any. Like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to have some sort of mid-card spot. Like, they're going to be there, probably wrestling each other. You got Gunther and Jey Uso, which in my opinion is a perfectly acceptable WrestleMania match at this point for a mid-card, where it's going to be. It's not going to main event shit. That's a mid-card match, cucks. And that mid-card match is something that has been built and has been presented to us as a mid-card match. It's a mid-card match. So we're going to get a mid-card match. The storyline is basically every Gunther storyline combined. Oh, I'm better than this guy. He's trash. He doesn't apply himself. Gunther's like a substitute teacher, And then Jey Uso's like, oh, I've been overlooked, Oos. That's his entire thing. I've been overlooked, Oos. And that's fine, for a mid-card match. Just like it was fine last year for Sami Zayn. It's another thing. Like, a lot of people were happy about Sami Zayn. They're not happy about Jey Uso. Like, what are they concerned about? That it's for the world title? They're not real titles, right? It's still the same fucking Gunther from last year who was Intercontinental Champion. It's like, that's not a real championship. So I don't give a shit. But there's no storyline, right? I guess the only storyline is, can Jey Uso finally step out of the shadow of his family? He already did that by beating Braun Breaker, as far as I'm concerned. Then we're going to have, like, after that, it's just throwaway matches. We might see some sort of Jade Cargill storyline because she's actually involved in a storyline, but every other thing is going to be just a throwaway match. It's just going to be a match with no story. Like, what's the story? And if there is even a scintilla of a story, it's basically, you beat me up, so I'm going to beat you up. Wow. That's the kind of story you'd want for like a fully loaded, not for WrestleMania. For WrestleMania, we need complex stories, ideally in every match, so that the outcome of every match is two things. One, unpredictable, or. Ideally and, but we'll settle for or. Either unpredictable or backed by a significant amount of storytelling. I always harken back to a few examples. Goldust versus Val Venus. It's a throwaway match. It was the opening match or the second match. Christian versus Jericho. Another throwaway match, like second match on the card. But they're very memorable matches, not because they're great matches. They are great matches, but they're memorable matches because, number one, they had unexpected finishes, and there was a story to back them up. Versus, let's say, like Christian versus DDP for the European title, a complete waste of a match. Even though both guys are good, it doesn't matter. Oh, DDP is going to beat Christian. Fantastic. That could happen on Raw. What am I paying money for, right? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. And the reality is, if this were the pay-per-view era, this WrestleMania would get not that many buys compared to other WrestleManias because literally we've seen this song and dance before. It's the same thing. The two guys that are presented as being at the top, Gunther and Cody, are literally in the exact same storyline they were last year. So Triple H's booking is the worst of all time. Triple H has ruined WrestleMania. He's ruined wrestling, but he's also ruined WrestleMania. Nobody could possibly be entertained by this. Now, I believe that reason, and the fact that nobody can be entertained by it, is why people are flocking towards Cena being a heel. Because the hater will admit, if Cena didn't turn heel, right, and therefore give us the possibility of heel Cena as champion, then there would be nothing to look forward to at all. It would feel like a random-ass episode of Raw. Now that has John Cena in the main event, it automatically gets elevated. But elevated does not mean, like many of you are saying, the card was saved. Nothing was saved. It's 2 nights, and the turn was not well done, as I've established many times. So what are we looking forward to? The same shit again? Will Cody Rhodes beat The Rock's people? I mean, at this point, The Rock should just whoop his ass himself. Maybe that's next WrestleMania. Who in the blue hell knows? But the idea is, a lot of the things that we expected didn't happen this year, right? And somebody needs to be held accountable. You know, a lot of us thought, and you know, I understand, sometimes people are wrong. A lot of us thought that Roman Reigns would have some sort of redemption this year. The reality is Roman Reigns has done nothing this year. Like if Roman Reigns was still out and hadn't come back, that would be good. It would be better than what has happened with him. Him coming back and this happening is worse than him retiring last year, in my opinion, because all he's done is just tarnish his legacy by feuding with the likes of Solo Sikoa. Which brings us to the SmackDown side of the equation, because pretty much all the matches are like Raw matches, right? What are SmackDown people going to do? We're going to see LA Knight in the same position as before. Can LA Knight win the US Championship 2 WrestleManias in a row? Is anyone compelled by that? I don't even care. Like, I don't even care if LA Knight beats Nakamura. Like, is this some sort of, like, big deal? Oh, LA Knight beat Nakamura. Wow, everyone rejoice. I don't care if Nakamura wins that match. I don't care. Because it's not going to lead to anything. Based on what we saw last year, LA Knight can win the US title at WrestleMania and then still be fighting for the US title, you know, a year later at WrestleMania. At least keep the title on him, make it more interesting. Have Nakamura beat him at Mania or something, you know? Do a nice like program. But there is no program. The program is Nakamura is now a samurai and he wants to fight people. Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa are going to do some shit. Nobody cares at all. John Cena's back. We don't need Jacob Fatu. People have now stopped pretending that Jacob Fatu is anything special because now The Rock and Cena are back. So we don't have to pretend that Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu are like main eventers. No, nobody cares about that anymore. You know? The main events have been settled. The SmackDown main event is going to be Cena versus Cody by virtue of Cody being a SmackDown guy and the champion of SmackDown. And then that's it. We have the Gunther match, which is the same thing as Gunther versus Sami Zayn. It's the same shit. Same shit as last year twice. Not once, but twice. So, I don't know. There's still some time. I'm not optimistic, of course, but there is still some time to fix this, right? Things can be done. You know, strings can be pulled. At this time last year, we effectively were in a situation where it wasn't sure what was going to happen. You know, at around this time, not exactly to the date, you know. It wasn't clear if it was going to be Roman versus Rock or Cody versus Roman, you know. And we saw how that turned out. So hopefully something happens and they call an audible because clearly they don't know what they're doing. As evidenced by this year, but perhaps more so by last year. Last year they had a plan and then they called an audible because the fans didn't like it. Now the fans like it because the fans are clearly morons, just like they were morons last year. You know, because of the fans, we now don't get to see Roman Reigns versus The Rock, and if we ever see it in the future, personally, I have no interest in it at all. Like, Roman Reigns has failed to live up to his expectations. Roman Reigns is not on the same caliber as The Rock. At this point, it would be like having The Rock versus Solo Sikoa. I don't care. You know, The Rock should just win by rock bottom in under 1 minute. You know? But here we are. Instead, we're going to get Cody Rhodes again. It's like, what does it take to shake this asshole off the top? Like, he's not entertaining, you know? And that's also at the crux of this. The idea is that WWE really, really badly wants to push Cody Rhodes ad infinitum. The fans don't care anymore. He's over only because he's put in these big-time storylines despite never earning anything. For 1 year, he's been doing nothing but cutting promos in his suit and wrestling the likes of Carmelo Hayes. You know? Like the 5 times he's wrestled like AJ Styles, Carmelo Hayes, and maybe one other guy like Kevin Owens. You know? He's wrestled like 5 dudes in like 8 matches. So what exactly is there to look forward to? You know? Why is Cody Rhodes still in the main event? They refuse to consider alternatives, which is why people like Seth Rollins and CM Punk, not saying they deserve more, but they're out there doing nothing. Like Seth Rollins' years are being wasted. Him coming out just like a woman for some reason. You know? This idea, this logic that Cody Rhodes is the viable, you know, main eventer is already flawed. You know, the reality is Cody Rhodes did nothing to establish himself as the best wrestler in this company at all last year, right? And as a result of that, he shouldn't be treated as such. It shouldn't be that big of a deal to wrestle Cody Rhodes, you know? But what they've done is they've, you know, aggressively and in a manufactured way made Cody Rhodes feel more important by having him wrestle 7 times. So the 8th time, people are like, oh, this is a big deal. Cena was wrestling every week. Cena was beating that ass. Cody Rhodes does nothing. All he does is cry and bitch and moan and talk about his father for 3 years. You know? But anyways, you know, we're going to talk about this a lot more as the details unfold. Look forward to Friday Night SmackDown review. I'm going to watch it and see. I know they're not going to show up. Or like, maybe Cody might, but like, I know Cena and Rock are not going to show up to SmackDown. You're going to announce that weeks before, you know? And, you know, here's the thing, right? A lot of people talk shit, but as you've seen, the hater has been validated every single time, right? Did I not say that the Netflix viewership would drop to half? It went from 5 million to like last week it was like 2.4 or 2.6 million, and they changed how they counted. At first, it was like, you know, for the first 2 days. Now it's for a week. So in 1 week, you can watch it at any moment of your life. In 1 week, it only got 2.6 million globally, motherfucks. Globally. You understand? Like a few months ago, Raw would get like 1.6, 1.7 million live. You know? You had to be there during that 2-hour period. Nowadays, there's people like the hater who watch it afterwards. You know? And those people are counted still. But anyways, I digress. The point is, this company is obviously going in the wrong direction. And it's going to take some time because the fans are really dumb. The fans need like Dave Meltzer to say something before they start listening. You know, but us hater fans and the hater himself, we're a bit elevated. So we have a different opinion, you know, when the different opinion is called for. You know? And lastly, I just want to say one thing. You know, this idea that I've been getting these like messages on my videos of people being like, oh, I'm done with you. I don't agree with you anymore. Great. You don't even have to tell me. Believe me, I don't care at all. You know, there's this idea that like, if you don't do as I say, I'll leave. Please leave. Please leave. Like, you know, even if I do what you say, please leave. You know, if you're that kind of person. This channel and this community that we've created was always supposed to be about real dudes and women. You know, we got some real women, but real dudes. You know, I have no time for anime neckbeards telling me that they don't like my takes. You can go ahead and say it. I'll take the comment. But don't think that I give a rat's ass if you never come back and watch a video. I don't care at all. You know what I'm saying? The hater is growing. And I don't need like the 5-6 people that get pissed off. Even if it's 100 people. You know? If you don't like the hater, don't worry. The hater is not upset at you leaving, and the hater is unaffected by it. I'm not going to change my opinions and the way I do my videos because someone decided that they don't like it. The self-importance of these comments literally makes me laugh. I read it, I'm like, wow, this person really thinks he's like important. Like, they don't understand that I could give a flying fuck. Like one guy was like, I've been a long time fan, but I can't take your takes anymore. I'm done. Okay, beat it. You know? Thank you for being a fan for a long time, I guess. But you know, to be honest, it's like I don't owe you anything. I don't owe anybody anything. Right? Like, if you're my fan, I appreciate it. Just like if you're a fan, I'm sure you appreciate that I make videos, but you don't owe me anything, and I don't owe you anything. Right? If you don't like it, don't watch, right? No hard feelings, fam. There's a lot of people that don't, and here we are. No problem at all. That's the idea, cucks. But, you know, I understand that in this world, we have people of varying degrees of maturity, and that's fine. The hater knew what he signed up for when he started doing YouTube. I knew that one day, you know, I'd get people that don't agree with me, and I'm perfectly happy with that. I actually welcome that more than I welcome people that agree with me, right? Because if you don't agree with me, maybe you have a good point. But if your statement is, I don't agree with you, I'm leaving, or, oh, this is a bad take, or my personal favorite, you know? Like these like neologisms of like Gen Z, which is like the worst generation in the history of the species by far, right? All these things like, put the fries in the bag, bro. Like all these like statements that don't actually say anything. You might as well just say, I don't agree. It's the same thing. Like you're not clever for copying a statement that everyone copied, or like, this ain't it, bro. And it's like the hater knows what's it, cucks. The hater knows. The hater is it. With that being said, see you guys soon. Take care of yourselves and go fuck your mothers.